And welcome to the Boardroom podcast. I'm Ward 6 Alderman Ben Piper.
I'm Ward 4 Alderman Chad Wicker.
We're coming to you from the Hernando Golf and Racket Club.
A little change up.
Yeah, the Boardroom podcast brought to you by Stevenson and Company Homes. Quality build, energy efficient homes.
The first time we get an ad read, he messes
I know,
it up.
man. It's
First time. This podcast
They
is
are
brought to
quality
you.
homes. They are
Brought to
quality
you by
homes.
Stevenson and Company Homes, building energy efficient, quality homes.
I knew quality was in there
That's right.
somewhere. Sorry, folks. Appreciate y'all listening to us. We are going to have a special guest bringing on Jim Robinson, who's a Republican candidate for Ward 5 or Supervisor 5,
Ward 5.
District 5. District 5.
You ready for the weekend already, aren't you?
The new ambiance, I guess, of not being not our usual place. I guess getting used to it. So we have District 5 Supervisor Republican candidate Jim Robinson joining us that will help round out that race for us. We had Robert Foster and Jack Scott on a previous episode.
That's right. Jim had a scheduling conflict, and so he was able to sit down with us at a different time. So we'll put that out. We'll probably start putting our podcast out probably Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, probably.
Yeah. So we'll get those recorded and we'll get them to you as quickly as we can. We do have the Republican primary coming up on August 8th on Tuesday. Yes. Make sure you get out and vote. You can check for your polling.
Is it sad that I'm ready for that to be over with?
I mean, I think it's just one of those things. Every year there's an election in Mississippi, it feels like.
That's right.
Next year it'll be presidential. A year after that it'll be municipal. And a year after that we'll get a little bit of a break, and then it'll be time to
Can we announce your
elect
mayor
these
run
people
here?
again.
Are you running for mayor?
I'm not. Absolutely not. So I'm gonna
We still got 2 more years left before we talk about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait to even consider something like that. But we did have a Board of Aldermen meeting on August 1st earlier this week. You want to talk about that a little bit, Chad?
Sure. So we had our first meeting for the month of August, and kind of a lengthy meeting for us. The last couple have been very, very small and short. I mean, not small. So nothing really of substance in the consent agenda. We did something that I think people probably assumed anyways. We had established a speed limit for Hernando Soccer Complex on Bella Vita Way to 10 miles an hour. That's kind of the most important thing that was in the consent agenda. And so after that, we had some personnel docket issues. I hired a couple people. I think we hired a police officer and I think another paramedic. We are applying for a $320,000 grant for the Rural and Tribal Association pilot program. And what this is alternative transportation, walking trails, biking, EV technology. And it's a no matching grant, but this is a competitive grant, so we're not sure if we're going to get it. We just simply applied for it. Ben, we also had some people from the Miss Drake, the executive director of the House of Grace, and then Ann Lunsford, the director of Precious and Pink, asked us for some budget request. A lot of people know this, but the city of Hernando, along with the other municipalities in Desoto County, donate a portion of funds to help those organizations. They're nonprofit organizations. I've been involved with those. It is my role as a jail administrator with those organizations. They do a great job. So,
yeah, they're great groups, and the board has proudly sponsored them at times in years past, and I'm sure we'll continue to do so. It's just kind of getting the official budget request in. We are in budget time, and we talked about that a little bit. I guess at the August 15th meeting, we'll have a budget proposal from the mayor, and the board will be able to make some changes to that as we see fit. We also accepted on Tuesday $1.5 million from House Bill 603 for the Highway 51 Oak Grove Road intersection, which is getting turned into a roundabout, which is a topic of conversation for sure with a lot of folks that don't necessarily like roundabouts, but that is the route that MDOT is going on those. So those funds will be used to continue to. We've kind of engineered it already. Had about $500,000 already for engineering that intersection, and this 1.5 will help kind of have that come to realization. We also put out a RFQ.
You don't like roundabouts?
I'm saying generally people don't like them. Like if you put it out there, they're generally not liked. I mean, I know how to navigate one. I'm fine with it.
I got you. Okay.
I mean,
It's all
they're
about you.
They're definitely not popular. I'm just saying.
It's all about you, man.
I'm just saying they're not popular. MDOT picked them.
Oh man.
The city didn't. The city
Just like a
didn't.
politician, man. Just passing the
It's
buck.
Highway 51.
Oh, my
It's
God.
like saying if there was somebody stuck at that traffic signal on the square. Do you see that? Somebody was stuck
did.
at the traffic signal on the square, and the city doesn't run those traffic
While I'm
signals.
thinking about it, I want to give a shout out or I think the Hernando Police Department has done a great job directing school traffic the last 2 days. I was able to get in pretty decent. You got a middle schooler yet?
Nope.
Middle school's a little rough, but the other ones
Yeah.
seem to be going well. Middle school and high school is still a little rough. You got 2 schools going in there, but my wife took my youngest to the kindergarten on Thursday, and I went to the middle school.
Yeah.
And got caught up a little bit, but they did the best they can. But we switched today, and I was in and out of elementary school. So.
Kindergarten can be a little tough because they move a little slower. They're little kids, so I mean,
That's right.
you got to give them a little bit. You got to give them a little bit of time to get in and out of the car.
Who you got? What teacher?
Once you get them to about fifth grade, our oldest in fifth grade, I mean, you can basically you ain't even got to stop. You just pop the door up, let them roll out.
We let him out, and he's gone within seconds. He don't want
stay
nothing to do with his
moving.
daddy. So,
But yeah, they have done a good job, and because it's a challenge. I mean, you got people that can't make those meet the teacher events. They have to bring all their stuff on the first day. It takes time for them to
Absolutely.
get everything in the building. Everybody's learning new procedures. You know, kids are learning what's going on. Some of them probably don't want to be there. They're moving slow for that reason, but they're making it happen. We also on Tuesday we put out a request for qualifications for engineering firms for the Green Tea Sewer project. So the city was made aware that it applied for a STAG grant
if
from
I
the
had my
federal
little sound
government.
effects, I'd go whoop 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 whoop.
The city applied for a STAG grant from the federal government for the sewer project,
I think you predicted that.
and it did not come through as predicted. Thank you, Chad. So the city will be looking to see what that project costs to potentially either put a bond out to get that sewer extended to those folks. We'll see.
You remember the cost on that? What that green tea sewer is going to cost?
I felt like it was $3.7 million. Yeah, it was a hefty. It may not be that. I feel like that. Maybe it was 1.9. I feel like it was 1.9, but the matching funds were 1.9.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
So, but that's not an official. That's not an official word. So we've got that for the Green Tea Sewer project, and then as we talked about with the budget, the Board of Aldermen decided not to change the millage for property taxes.
I tried.
I know. You threw it out there, and it did not seem like anybody was wanting to jump on that other than maybe you and myself.
Do you want to explain what I think some of the listeners may not understand what a millage is?
Yeah. So a mill is basically a percentage of your assessed value of your property.
That's right.
So your property with the city is taxed at 40.765
That's right.
mills. Each mill is representative of about $190,000 in revenue towards the city. So, if you have a really valuable property like a Walmart, there's a lot of assessed value with the Walmart property. You might pay a whole lot more than, a residence, of course. So that will not go up. Folks won't have to necessarily take on any more property tax burden. So that is some good news for the folks in Hernando. It would be nice to have it go down. We kind of talked about what would it look like for it to go down by about 3/4 of a mil down to 40 even.
Yeah.
It would have cost to the budget probably $150,000 towards the budget, which to me I think is something that we could figure out. But so one thing to consider or one thing that I took under consideration is that we are looking at the potential for a need of a fire station in the future on the east part of Hernando, where I would like to not have to borrow all the money for that. I'd like to be able to use some amount of cash on hand. So if the mayor and the board can get behind, saving as much money as possible over the next few budgets, you should be able to potentially pay for maybe half the fire station with cash, and then only have to borrow a smaller amount, or there may be other options there. But it's our contingency with the city is not large enough, period. The rainy day fund is not large enough. Right. And you saw that with, I think for this year it was for the year, I think it was close to $800,000 in contingency, and any given 2-week period, the alderman receives something called a docket of claims, which is basically it's payroll, it's insurance, it's all the things, purchases that are made, whatever, and typically they're around $800,000. So in a way, the contingency is only representative of 1-2 week period of time. So that's a very precarious, place, in my opinion, for the city to be. I would much rather us have, a 2 or 3 month contingency kind of built up, which I think is what people do with their own household budgets. So we got to be good stewards of people's money.
Ben, you've heard me say this 1,000 times. A budget's all about your priorities, and we have to decide as a board what our priorities are going to be. We've made some, I think, investments in public safety since that we've been on the board. We've made some investments in fire and police. We've made an investment in the animal shelter that we've now got that project basically behind us. We need to decide how we're going to move forward. What is a priority to us, if that's setting up the rainy day fund or putting more money into our parks programs or, whatever, the majority of the board decides to do. I think we're going to have a challenge this year with our budget because of some of the spending that we've done and are going to be continuing to do. We've agreed to purchase the Hernando Civic Center property. We'll have to start paying that in October. I think my understanding from the mayor is that we've decided not to borrow money from the animal shelter, and so we're going to be paying that kind of through excess funds. I think that's correct.
Yeah, there's some one-time funds that have come in from.
Sure.
And so, in my mind, like a business or a financial standpoint, if you have one-time revenues, then you should be spending them on one-time expenses.
Yeah, that's right.
You built some, you had somebody build something. We have additional building permit funds or whatever it may be, site inspection fees from fire or whatever else. You should put those towards a one-time building to have them sort of cancel out and balance out. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know that it's going to necessarily completely even out. So there may have to be some money borrowed. But it's really hard to know right now.
We just mentioned earlier in the agenda, we have the green tea project. That's going I guess we'll have to borrow bond money out for that. I know it's a priority for me and you to get the rainy day fund up, so we don't have cash flow issues that we've encountered in the past. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to be some difficult decisions.
There will be some difficult decisions coming up.
We have a strong board. We work together, and we'll get through it, and we'll make the best decisions for the citizens of Hernando. What else you got, Ben?
I think that was the
Start
bulk of
soccer yet?
We had soccer practice on Monday. U6 soccer. We got off to a good start. Hot week. Practices were canceled on Thursday because it was just too hot. They said the heat index was 107, 108.
That's right.
Even at nighttime. Getting into the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock hour. So they canceled them all together. So so that was scrub the practice on Thursday. So we'll get back to it. My understanding is people should have soccer schedules out soon. I think the jerseys are coming in, so people can start getting those picked up here in the next week or so.
From Grayson's coach, we have not heard from Reeves' coach yet, but we have. I've been talked into coaching Haifa, so I gotta.
Oh man!
I gotta be out there at the Kirkendall Field tomorrow at 7:45 for evaluations.
Okay.
For the 5 and 6-year-old flag football team. So, what'd you call them, the Wicker Warriors?
Okay.
We may cut well with that name. So.
I don't know. You got to come up with some Wicker Wildcat. Wildcats. That's like a Hernando name, right?
That's right. That was the old Hernando school, Oak Grove. They're the Wildcats. So
everybody's getting started. It's fall ball and some of those things will get it going here.
Yeah,
so
get behind the we'll get past these elections, and then we'll get into the fall, like you said. Ole Miss football, Hernando High School football. Also, you got to mention this, Ben. Hernando High School volleyball starts. They're going to have a strong team this year.
Yeah, I think so. I'll be honest, I do not know a lot about volleyball. I know the basic rules.
It's strong, dude. They got a good team, and one of your constituents is a big volleyball guy.
Yeah, I know the basic rules. I don't know the positions or any of these things.
I would encourage anybody who is. I think the first game is actually on Tuesday.
I think they got the football jamboree coming up at Lake Cormorant, and the season will start later this month. You got volleyball coming up.
The first
very
game
soon.
The first game is Tuesday.
August 8th.
First game is Tuesday. I think they play Horn Lake Tuesday afternoon.
August 8th.
That's right.
On primary election day. That'll be a busy day in Hernando.
That's right. That's right.
Well, good deal. Well, speaking of elections, we have Republican candidate Jim Robinson joined us. He is running for District 5 Supervisor, which covers, majority of Hernando.
That's right.
So,
he's currently the city administrator for the city of Horn Lake. Essentially, he serves as, I think, the clerk and the administrator there. I think it's kind of a dual position. I spend about 15, 20 minutes talking to him, and he outlines his agenda and his plan to serve the citizens of District 5 if he's successful in being elected. So.
If you're in District 5, you were talking, you go and vote at Baker's Chapel, you go and vote at Lewisburg, you vote at one of the main sites here in Hernando or Love, and the Well at Lewisburg, Heartland Church.
Right.
So that's kind of the breakdown. If you hear any of those and that's you, this is an interview that you want to hear, and you want to make sure you go back and listen to our interviews as well with his two opponents, Robert Foster and Jack Scott, so you can get a full picture before Tuesday when you go into the booth to vote. So let's bring on Jim Robinson, his interview with Chad Wicker here.
Welcome to another episode of the Boardroom podcast. I'm Chad Wicker. I'm sitting here with Jim Robinson, a candidate for the 5th District Supervisor of Desoto County. Jim, how you doing? Thanks for doing the podcast, man.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So we've had the other two candidates on, and you're kind of the last one standing here. Tell us why in the world. Well, I guess first, give us a little background. Who is Jim Robinson?
All right. Pleasure to be here. Glad to have this opportunity. Go back to what you said. Hopefully, I'll be the last man standing. But Robinson family and Jim Robinson, we've been here in DeSoto County for a long time. Raised all of our family, our kids. Got a daughter that's 29. That's heavy into working for two different architectural firms here in the Mid-South area. But we've been here close to 30 years and been serving DeSoto County for close to 20 years, over 20 years, actually, sure. In a lot of different areas. My background, what kind of brought us to this area was teaching. I started off teaching, 30-something years ago.
What subject you teach?
I taught all health, anatomy, physical education classes, coached, was athletic director in the Mid-South here. And then got on with the YMCA, was with the YMCA for 21 years. Left there as vice president and district exec over DeSoto County, doing a lot of stuff in DeSoto County, built the YMCA in Olive Branch, and been with the city of Horn Lake as city administrator for over 8 years now. My wife has been employed with DeSoto County Schools off and on for 6 to 7 years. Okay. She's teaching librarian at South Haven Elementary School.
Good. Well, Jim, what decided? What was the factor that made you decide to run for public office? You seem like you've worked around a lot of people over the time who are in the public office. What made you decide to do it?
I am not a politician, but been involved with the city of Horn Lake for 8 years and seen government work, and as city administrator. Ran a city now, and I enjoy and love doing that. It's a service to our citizens and our residents, and that's kind of what carried me into this. I've always had a life of service through the YMCA, our church of 30 years. I've been a deacon there for over 20 years. And serve our community, and this is another opportunity to serve a larger group. I love serving people, and want to take my experience as running a city, as city administrator, to better serve my District 5.
Sure. Well, what is some of the things you're interested in accomplishing while you're on the?
Yes. You touched on it. You said the word budget. I'm a numbers person. I love budgets. I love looking at the funds that we are blessed with at the city, same with the county. We need to utilize those funds with integrity and use them the best way possible for our citizens, to give back to our citizens, to give back to our infrastructure that desperately needs attention. With the county, it is a very large budget, over a $300 million budget, and I want to take my expertise in helping doing what is best for our citizens, whether putting those funds back into infrastructure projects, broadband, ways to save our citizens some of their hard-earned tax dollars. There are a lot of ways that that can be done. We're still in financially difficult times. I think a lot of us are just getting used to it, but there's a lot of people out there suffering, and I want to help District 5 manage their funds and their money the best way possible to benefit our citizens.
Sure. Well, so it sounds like you're going to be take a pen to the budget and try to find some ways to save some money and maybe allocate some funds in different areas. What's some of the other priorities? Public safety or infrastructure? You mentioned that.
Yeah, I did mention infrastructure. There's a lot of things that go along with that. Still pushing for expanding I-55 all the way down to Hernando interchange. I've been a part of the Driving Desoto along with yourself, going down to Jackson for 10 years now, pushing for funds. That's key. Public safety is key. I work with our police and fire on a daily basis. Over the years, we've seen studies where Horn Lake's been in the top 5 safest cities. Hernando has been listed in the top 3 safest cities, and I want to keep that strong. Sure. Keep our sheriff's department and the safety that they provide throughout the county strong. And I have an opportunity every year to work with the SRO officers. Now our sheriff's deputies are in our schools. Want to keep our schools safe. Like I said earlier, I've had 2 that have gone all the way through DeSoto County schools and graduated from DeSoto County schools. Still have a son in school, and I want to make sure the schools are safe. So that's a priority, and our schools and our education is important. I've been a part of DeSoto Economic Council's initiatives, trying to build our workforce for our state and for DeSoto County. So we've got to build a quality workforce for District 5 and all of our county to keep our county strong in that way. So if you look at it, managing the finances, infrastructure, education, safety, and then last one, we're still one of the fastest growing counties in the state.
Absolutely.
And there needs to be a balanced growth. We can't just explode in nothing but subdivisions or nothing but warehouses. We have to balance our growth and keep some of the things that made DeSoto County great, keep them a part of DeSoto County, our agriculture, and still have the quality subdivisions and the small business, large business. So balancing that growth in DeSoto County is a key for the supervisors. Yeah.
And they have a huge task, and I didn't realize we had Mark Gardner on, like I think our first or second episode, and he was explaining some of the authority that a county supervisor has. It has a lot of legislative authority as well as a lot of executive authority, because there's no county mayor and some other things like that.
Yes.
So it sounds like you've kind of laid out your blueprint. What about, I think you mentioned something that I always hear is people talking about kind of keeping a small town feel and things like that. What are your thoughts on that and kind of managing the growth? I think you touched on that just a second.
Yeah, DeSoto County, one thing that we've loved over the decades living here is bringing up our family. It's a fun, a friendly place to live. We've got great churches, great schools, and great developers that are developing the different aspects that make our communities, our subdivisions, our parks. You as a city official know the importance of parks, and those amenities are what makes our county great, and we've got to keep growing on those. The supervisors oversee parks also for the county, and we want to the supervisors. I'm hoping see the cities as the building stone for this community, and we've got, as supervisors, we've got to support our cities, support our city officials in every way we can. We have to look at ways of getting some of those tax dollars back to our cities, because they are what make up our county. We wouldn't have county supervisors if we didn't have the cities. We drive through each city every single day. So as a supervisor, a potential supervisor, working for the city, I see the struggles we have, and I want to take that experience to the supervisor position to give back to our cities that still are struggling financially, and help them in the ways we can in some of those areas that I talked about, infrastructure and everything.
Yeah. So what's Jim Robinson do on the weekends? What's some hobbies? What do you do for fun?
Well, before I messed up my knees, I used to play soccer.
Okay, soccer player. Okay. What position?
At the time, I grew up in high school playing center midfield, but in college I played center back.
Oh, you play college soccer. Okay.
I did. And then when we moved here, I played 30 years out at Mike Rose for an adult team, and played sweeper back, the last man in defense.
That's right. My son plays soccer, and he plays defense, and that's what he says. Last line defense. That's right.
Yeah. So used to do that, but just spending time with family now, and church events. I mean, this past summer, my pastor twisted my arm to go to youth camp with our youth group. So I hadn't done that since my girls were in youth group.
Was that fun?
Yeah, it was, but exhausting. I'm almost 60, and I can't get around with these young folks like I used to. So
yeah. So you originally, where'd you move? Where are you originally from?
My wife and I moved down. I grew up around in the Indiana area, right close to the border of Kentucky.
Okay.
But like I said, we moved down here over 30 years ago.
Yeah. And then, So as we get, I think of the elections, August 8th. What do you want voters to? When they get ready to bubble a name in for the county supervisor, what's the thing that you want them to think about, you as their candidate?
Great. I love that question. I want them to think about experience matters. And from day one, if I were elected, the Lord blesses in that way, and people vote for Jim Robinson, I want them to know that I can hit the ground running. I understand the different prongs of government and how it works. Like I said, I'm not a politician, but I understand how to use the taxpayer dollars with integrity and the best way possible, and want to take that experience in there and be able to make the decisions that represent the citizens and the residents of District 5, and not decisions that represent anything else but what is important here at home.
Yeah. And you have a website or a Facebook page or anything to somebody wants to learn more about you or reach out to you? What do you got?
Yeah, got a website, Jim Robinson, the number 4, supervisor.
Is that .com?
Yeah. And then got an email. Love to hear from you, Jim Robinson, 4supervisor @gmail.com.
Okay, all right.
And I am on Facebook and LinkedIn.
Facebook, that Facebook, social media is the good and bad. I mean, you can connect with a lot of people and in any way, but sometimes you see the negative as well.
Yes.
Now I think my son and your son played on the same soccer team there. How old is he?
Caden is 12.
You got to give a shout out to your wife and your kids. They get mad if they hear that you didn't mention them now.
Yeah, well, like I said, Kim teaches at South
Yeah.
Haven Elementary
Okay.
and loves she loves teaching and library science degree that she got from Southern.
Okay.
She's hoping to turn that into a master's here soon, but yeah, Caden has grown up playing soccer. I wish he had the same drive as I did growing up, but I don't foresee him being a college recruit.
Oh man. Well, is you just got the one boy?
Yes,
No, okay.
2 girls, older, and 1 boy. We
I
got
gotcha.
15 years difference between the
I
two.
gotcha.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Well, Jim, thanks for being on the show, and look forward to I'm sure you're ready for this thing to be over with, and if you're successful, we look forward to working with you, and even if not, we look forward to working with you with the city of Horn Lake. I'm assuming you're gonna I guess have to give that job up if you get elected. I guess. Huh?
yes, this is more important and a much bigger, broader job with the county. But yes, it would be my focus. The mayor has been giving me a hard time, but yes.
You got a good group of guys there in Horn Lake. We get along with them really well. So.
Great, yeah, and I appreciate what you've done here and getting the word out. That's the biggest thing. We all have a right to vote, and I hope people will get out on August 8th.
Ben and I were talking about, we're hoping for a 35-40% turnout, but I think we're being a little forward thinking. I think it's going to be more 25 to 30.
That would be amazing. You know, I've had the opportunity to run elections at Horn Lake, and we would see 17% and be excited about that. People need to get out.
Well, we learned if you do a tax referendum, you get a pretty high turnout. We learned that in November. So.
Yes.
Well, Jim, thank you for being on, and we'll look forward to seeing the results on Tuesday. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.